Today's webinar, How Real-Time Coaching Improves Agent Effectiveness. I'm Rachel and I'll be your webinar chairperson today. We've got a full packed agenda today, so I want to introduce two brilliant speakers, two speakers who are actually on their first webinars with us. Delighted to welcome Kim Ellis, a training consultant. I don't know whether you wanted to introduce yourself, Kim.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining. My name is Kim Ellis and I run a company called Go Ginger Learning Solutions, and I look to work with companies to basically revitalise their training systems, whether it is their in-house training, whether it's making them more self-reliant, and a one-stop shop really for everything from doing a training needs analysis right through to design, delivery, evaluation, all of that. So I look at working with companies to deliver that.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing what you've got to say today. And also delighted to welcome Mark Williams from Core Miner. Welcome, Mark. I don't know whether you wanted to introduce yourself and say a bit about who Core Miner are.
Sure, I will do. Many thanks, Rachel. Many thanks, Kim. So yeah, my name is Mark Williams. I work for Core Miner, have done for the last 9 or 10 years or so. Core Miner are a leading provider of speech analytics or interaction analytics solutions. My role within Core Miner has been many and varied, but more recently I've been working as a customer success director, making sure that companies that employ our software are able to maximize the returns on investment that they see from it, making sure really that the way that speech analytics is approached by an organization is likely to be one that brings them success. My background prior to that was in contact center management. I actually spent a considerable amount of time on the phone as well, and did a lot of resource planning. So I'm in a reasonably well-informed position to be able to help guide customers around the best uses of speech analytics and coaching within a contact center.
Brilliant. We look forward to hearing more from you shortly. So just a reminder to everyone, we are taking a recording of today's webinar. That will be available along with the slides on callcenterhelper.com/recorded-webinars. We know you like to share the replays with your team members. Just a reminder, we are continuing on the discussion. There's already 47 people actually in our chat room, so come and join all that. It's on callcenterhelper.com/chat. You can download a copy of both Kim and Mark's presentations from the chat room, so great reason to join in there as well. And another added bonus is that, as always, we're running a give away a bottle of champagne or box of chocolates for the best tip. You use #tip to share your tips for real-time coaching and agent effectiveness, or #question to ask both our panel a question. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to have the champagne at home, so you'll just have to imagine what that's like. So I want to start today's webinar by asking our first poll, which is, how frequently do your agents receive soft skill training after induction? Is it weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, or is it seldom or never? So I'm just going to launch the poll now. There we go. Kim, I don't know what you think might come out on this one.
I'm thinking quarterly. It should be monthly in my eyes, but I'm thinking quarterly. I'll be the winner.
Okay. Mark, would you agree with that?
I would echo that, absolutely. It should be monthly or even more frequent, but I think it's more likely to be quarterly.
Fab. So I will share the results. So we have 147 people have voted. So yes, 32% have said monthly, 25% have said quarterly, 18% weekly, 16% seldom or never, and 9% annually. Kim, are you pleased with that result?
I'm a bit worried about the seldom and never with the amount that's in there. I think that, yeah, I think soft skills should be, no matter what your industry is, soft skills should be incorporated in any type of induction training or contact center agent training.
Well, I think this is a perfect opportunity to hand over the baton to you so you can share some of your ideas. So let me just make you the presenter.
Okay. Let me show my screen.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, just checking. Can you see it? Yep,
We
lovely.
can, yeah.
All right, well, welcome to my session. So I just want to start off with what coaching actually is. So coaching shouldn't be just about call monitoring or QA. It should be working together to help someone reach their full potential, helping your advisors be the best that they can be. Coaching shouldn't be telling someone what they need to do, telling someone how they should improve, or saying you didn't do well on this or you did well on that. It should be working collaboratively. So I'm just going to open up a bit of a poll. You tell your agent it's time for coaching. How do you want them to react? So do you want 1, 2, or 3? Imagine their facial expressions. What do you expect?
Fab. So I will just launch that. So we'll see what people have to say.
I'm expecting that people want them to be number 3.
Yep, we'll just close that and share the results. Yeah, 84% have said number 3, 11% say 2, and 5% have said 1.
Okay, so I'll throw another question out there. How do they actually react? So you know how you want them to react, but how do they actually react when you say to them, right, it's time for coaching?
So I will also launch that poll. So is it 1, 2, or 3? And what do you think Kim's going to come out?
I think it's going to be either number 1 or number 2.
So I will close that and share the results. Yeah, 2, 64%, 1, 19%, and 3, 17%.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, I'm glad that 17% of you have a number 3 in there for how do they actually react. But a lot of the time it can be number 2, because coaching in many places has been used for years as a way to beat people down. It's a way to just tell them what's wrong, how they need to improve. And that's one of the things that needs to be worked on in different organizations, because it needs to be a positive experience. Going back to my previous slide, it needs to be a collaboration, working together to get your agents to reach their full potential. So there are some benefits to real-time coaching. For the advisor, I've just picked out 3. Their engagement is going to increase. Their engagement with the company, with the brand, with your customer, and with the way that you do things, that's going to increase. Their self-awareness, how they're coming across to their customers, how they're coming across to each other and the managers as well, that's going to increase. And also the skills are going to improve. So if in the coaching you find that there's a pattern where people are consistently giving out misinformation or not really sure about what they're saying, then you can improve their skills through coaching. For you as the team leader, you're going to improve every time you do coaching. You're going to improve your coaching ability. You're going to find out what works for each of your agents, because everybody likes a different approach. It's going to improve your communication skills, and ultimately it will give you a greater sense of job satisfaction. So I've picked out 3 different ways to coach an advisor. And this is, I've done many, many years in contact centers. I started in a contact center when I was 21. So I've got over 15 years worth of experience working in contact centers. And these were the most common ways of coaching that I came across. So I'll just look at the pros and cons for each of these. So face-to-face, it's a direct approach. You can read people's body language, their facial expressions, but on the flip side, it can make your advisors feel intimidated, especially if you're saying, right, advisor, put yourself on break, let's go into the meeting room, and then you sit them down across the table and you say, right, then that call that you did, let's discuss it. It can make them feel like they're being told off, or that the feedback is going to be negative. Next one we have is side by side. Team leader, you can make this quite informal. You can put them at ease. You get a good feel for how your advisors react to different situations, because you can see it in real time. You can see it that you are actually right there with them. You can hear the tone of voice of the customer and see how your agent reacts to that. But again, on the flip side, it can make them feel intimidated. You know yourself, if somebody is watching you type something, You can't spell. You can't type if somebody is over the shoulder watching you. So they can make mistakes because they are feeling watched. And the last one that we're going to look at is remote listening. With this one, you can really go through a list of calls. You can listen to one after another. You can cherry pick. You can start to listen to a few. If you're listening out for one specific type of call, you can skip through quite rapidly. It's ideal for home workers. For those of you that have got advisors that work off-site, different sites that you manage in, it's ideal for those. But you may focus on finding coaching opportunities or listening out for negative parts that you feel need to be coached. So those are the three that I've picked out. And out of these three methods, when we're talking today about real-time coaching, I would say the face-to-face and the remote listening ones are the ones that we are more likely to focus on in this session, just because it's after the fact. You side by side is while the customer is on the call. So for the purposes of this session, face-to-face and remote listening are what we're calling the real-time coaching methods. With all of these methods, one thing is a big con across all of them. It's very hard to find useful calls. It's very hard to find a broad spectrum, because if you think, if one of your agents takes 100 contacts a day, how are you going to go through all of those to find the best coaching opportunities or find the ones that stand out? It will take you all day to go through them all. All right, so let's have a look at some different coaching models. Some of these may be familiar, so we're just going to go through a few different areas of them. First off, we have the GROW model. Goal, reality, options, will. Pros and cons for each of these. Pro, it uses a lot of open questions. It makes the advisor take control of their own self-improvement. You're not just telling them what they need to do differently. You're actually saying, how did this work? What do you need to do differently? How does that make the customer feel? What will you do in future? Con of this, sometimes when people use these types of models, they can rely too much on following the model rather than adjusting what you're doing to suit your advisor's needs. The next one is 2 stars and a wish. It does have a less flattering name in some contact centers, which I'm not going to say on here. Pro of this is it's direct feedback, which forces the coach to look at the positives rather than the negatives. I really like the way you did this. I really like how you greeted the customer. I really liked the way that you built rapport. The con is it's mostly using statements. It doesn't have open questions. It doesn't give the advisor time to respond to anything. So it does limit the coaching opportunities. This would be a way, if you were writing feedback for somebody to just take away and read, then this one would be a model that you could follow, because it's just giving them information. It's not actually coaching them in anything. And the last one is think before you speak. So is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? So this is really good for when you're actually structuring your feedback. It ensures the feedback that you're giving is well thought out and it's well rounded as well. And actually, it's going to make a difference to that agent. But if you only use this model, it can be very limiting. So it's best used in conjunction with one of the others, like GROW or like the 2 stars and a wish, or even something else entirely. So on the back of this, I just want to give you a little story. Now, this is me, 2003. So this is when I was my first call center job, and it was for a company called Britannia Rescue, which is part of the LV insurance group. And I started there, like I said, when I was 21. I had a couple of weeks training, and then I was on the phones taking emergency breakdown calls, sales, and service. And I was very good at my job. I was fast. I was efficient. If you were broken down at home, I could answer your call with the correct salutation and get an agent on the way to you within a minute. That was literally how quick I was. And my team leader, who actually trained me up initially, she was very good. She knew how I would respond to coaching or to, call qualities. And one day she got me into the office. So again, it's the whole face-to-face, pick them up out of the call center, take them into the office, and you're thinking, oh gosh, what have I done? And she sat me down, and all she did was play a call. I think it was a house call. It's a while ago, so I think it was a house call. And she played this call, so it was a very quick call, very short. And she said, what did you think of that? And I was mortified. I was just like, oh, I sound horrible. I sound flat. I sound monotone. I sound like I don't care. I was absolutely mortified at how I sounded to that customer. Now, everything that I was saying to the customer was, what's your membership number? What's your name? What's your address? Where are you? What's your phone number? What car have you got? What's the problem? Where do you want to go if we can't fix it? Okay, someone's on the way. That was literally how quick the call is, with people answering. And it was flat, it was monotone, I was a robot. And the only reason that call got picked up was because the customer had complained about my attitude. And this was me thinking that I was one of the best. I was consistently getting the most calls handled per shift, the most calls, the quickest calls. I was turning around, getting assistance out to people stuck on the side of the motorway or at home, or locking the keys in the car with frozen food in. I was one of the best. But after that call, I saw myself as one of the worst, because what experience was I giving to that customer? It was diabolical. Anyway, I digress. My team leader, she didn't use the GROW model. She didn't use the 2 stars and a wish. All she did, because she knew me very well, we'd worked together since day dot, since training. She knew all I needed was to listen to that call and to be asked what I thought. So it just goes to show that there's dozens of coaching models. There's dozens of different ways that you can coach somebody, but customize it to the actual person that you're speaking to. Customize it to them. How will they respond? What do they need to hear? How are they going to react? And then do it from, do your coaching from there. So after me being mortified, it would have been a case of, well, I need to sound more alive. I need to sound less robotic. I need to give the customer time to speak and to be friendly. And after that, it completely changed my entire career as an advisor. And also, I'm still telling this story 15, 16 years later, because it made that much of an impact. That one coaching session made such an impact. So, final thought, change your coaching style to suit your advisors and to suit the situation. Now, everything that I've been talking about relies heavily on team leaders, coaches, quality teams to manually find the call, to listen to it, to score it, to provide feedback. If you're working in a very busy call center, then it can be really difficult to actually get your agents off the phone for long enough to give them a real coaching opportunity. So this is where technology can help. Finding all these calls, it's very, very labor intensive. So imagine if you've got a large team of advisors, it can be very, very intensive. So technology can help by giving you quicker feedback, better analytics, a wide variety of calls are monitored. That's something that Mark's going to actually go into as well. You can do targeted coaching, and ultimately it's going to be a better coaching journey for you, your agent, and the customer. And you're going to end up making your agents brand advocates, which in turn is going to make your customers brand advocates. And that is my session done. So thank you very much. Any questions on that?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kim. Yes, the chat room's been humming, so we will see what people are sending through. So we've had a few opinions on how did your advisors react to coaching. Lucy said, we encourage this on a daily basis. Any downtime, we tell them to get out from behind their desks and go and plug in with the operators. Each operator should expect this every couple of weeks. Jose said, I think it will depend how we're delivering the information to the agents. And Kirat said, it depends on the individual, so we need another option. So we've had a tip in from Michelle who said, we have weekly sessions, but they cover a variety of topics so that they may not cover the same topic again for another quarter. Kim, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think that's really good, but you need to also make sure that you have like an information hub where people can look back at what has been discussed, maybe some key points, so the continuous learning is there. Also with your new starters, if you get somebody who's only with the company for 6 months, they could have completely missed an entire opportunity.
Yep, and we've also seen it where, keep copies of good recordings. So if someone's got a call that covers a certain thing, then it could be used for training purposes as well. So that's an idea. Philip said, we've implemented a skills audit for agents to log their confidence across specific areas. Coaching is then tailored to this audit. That way the agents react more positively as it's training that they feel they need or want. Then obviously any observed weaknesses are addressed during live coaching. Mark, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, that one's interesting. It's something that I have come across recently. It's not something that I'd come across really prior to 24 months or so ago, but that ability for self-coaching, agent-driven coaching, both in terms of identifying their own weaknesses, perhaps it's sales skills that they need or objection handling, that ability to give the power back to the agent to say, this is where I feel that I need to improve. And to use technology and to use the tools at your fingertips to be able to provide and find the source material to assist them in that goal, I think is vital. I think that's great for them.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kim.
which is fine. Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit with this one. This is absolutely fantastic if your agents are engaged in it. But I've worked with some agents, not going to say names, that just aren't bothered. They are not bothered in increasing their skills. They just want to come in, do the job, go home, get paid. They are not bothered in improving themselves unless it's going to lead to a disciplinary and, a boot out the door. So I think with this, it's fantastic, but you've really got to work on the engagement. Incentives can help with that, but it shouldn't be only about incentives. It's really about engaging your people and making sure that they want to, improve their skills.
Yeah, and I suppose with the different coaching methods, this could be one that you implement along with, others that you discuss, Kim.
Yeah, of course. It's getting them to have the will to develop and the will to better their customer relations.
Brilliant. So Lucy said, our team leaders conduct the side-by-side coaching, but the trainers will do this during the first few weeks. We encourage this on a daily basis. Any downtime, we tell them to get out from behind their desk and go and plug in with operators. Oh, yeah, I think we've already covered that one. So Lisa's asked a question. Do you know any training exercises to improve advisor listening? Kim, I don't know if you have any exercises?
Yeah, active listening techniques. If you look on Google, other online search engines are available, and you'll find lots of active listening techniques. The Witches of Glum is a really good one for picking out things. That's a really nice one. Also, what Mark was saying earlier about emotional intelligence, that'll play a key role in improving advisor listening, because they'll understand the background of it and making sure that they understand why it's important.
And I'm sure we can put a few links to call centre helper articles in the chat room for you as well. So Brittany sent in a tip saying, make sure all leadership is on the same page with the ultimate goal when coaching. And Salem said, don't let your agents off the hook when coaching. What this means is it may be tempting to give them the answers or tell them what they could do to improve or what actions to focus on, but it's so important that they're challenged to think for themselves and take ownership of this action. In that space is where the growth happens. Mark, what do you think?
Completely agree.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
I do completely agree. It's without meaning to liken agents to children, but that's exactly what I'm about to start doing. I have 3 kids myself, and it's sometimes much easier just to do it for them or to provide the answer for them. But where they grow and where they develop, and to prevent you from having to do that work time and time again, is by making them think through that problem for themselves and getting them to provide their own answers. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, Kim, anything else?
Nope, he's covered it all.
So Ian sent in, we've just begun to implement at least 1 hour per month coaching for each agent and not necessarily with their own manage. So Chris has said, I like to use TED. Tell me, explain to me, describe to me as part of my side-by-side coaching conversations. It opens up the conversation for them to talk to me more. Kim, have you heard of this one?
Oh, yep. I've used that one many times as well. I only picked out 3 for this one, for this webinar, but there's TED and there's also bums on a rugby post. Google that one.
I think we're going to need to get you to write some articles afterwards on these things. So Angel sent in a tip saying it's important to define and model what good looks like to give agents a goal to achieve to feel successful, have the ability to measure it over time and celebrate success. So Andy sent in a tip saying it's helpful to provide customer feedback to the employees. It can help them feel qualified with their level of service when they're given praise or help them improve when they receive constructive feedback. And
the key one in that is constructive feedback.
I think it goes back to your think one where it was about being kind as well, that it's not just these are all the things you're doing wrong. And final tip of the day is, or not of the day, of this part, we have recurrent coaching sessions every 2 weeks based on the quality monitoring reviews. So it's something that agents know is happening anyway, and there are no surprises that they'll receive feedback about their work performance. So we are going on to a poll now, which is how do you select the calls that you monitor for coaching purposes? So it is a select all that apply. Is it a random selection? Is it from customer or agent feedback? Is it based on call type? Is it through analytics, or is it another one? And if you could put that in the chat room, then I can share that. So let me just launch the poll. Ooh. So, Mark, what are you expecting to see?
I'm expecting to see a pretty even spread, I think. I think probably analytics is the least likely right at this point in time for most organizations.
Right, so just the last few, and we'll close it down and share the results. So sample size of 180, so 82% say random selection, 31% say customer or agent feedback, and 31% say based on call type, 10% analytics, and 4% say other. We're still waiting to hear a few what people have said for other. Mark, is that kind of what you expected to see? Are you pleased with that?
It is what I expected to see. It's random selection has been the traditional way of selecting calls for quality monitoring since time immemorial. I think it's only in recent times that the concept of using customer and agent feedback for review has really started to take root. Basing things on call type or agent dispositioning or the lines, that's one way that people have used to try and target the coaching in the best way that they can. And I think as we're seeing a growth in the analytics market, I'm expecting that 10% to get bigger and bigger as the benefits of being able to truly target and truly refine your coaching to the skills that matter on an individual level basis, both to the organization and to the agent. I think we'll see that number increase rapidly.
Brilliant. Well, I think now's the perfect time to go over to your presentation, Mark, so you can share a bit about analytics and everything. So I will make you the presenter.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
So hopefully you can see me now.
We can, yeah.
Good stuff. So Kim's spoken a lot about the importance of real-time coaching, the timeliness of the element, and how to improve agent effectiveness through utilizing coaching. So why is it that insightful data and the timing of it matters? So a couple of quotes here from some of the leading consultancy bodies. So for us to talk about targeting agent coaching, using that insights to improve the company's overall performance. Northridge Group, again, talk about providing timely and specific feedback. Contact Babe will talk about organizations not necessarily having the sufficient time to analyze and use that data. So having the ability to have that pre-packaged for them, pre-analyzed for them, and presented in a way that is much more time effective is always going to be a useful and handy thing to have. Again, Kim's spoken about the value of agent engagement. You know, a highly engaged agent has direct impacts on across the contact center operation, efficiency, customer experience, revenue, compliance risk. Having a highly engaged agent, which can be achieved through coaching, is a direct link between effective coaching, targeted coaching, and employee engagement. And then there's a directly proven link between employee engagement and that efficiency in contact center operations and customer experience. And agent feedback and coaching, again, is crucial to customer experience. So now we're looking at Dimension Data, so another one of these massive consulting groups. What is it that they found about customer experience? What are the 3 top things that affect customer experience? They talk about the ease of resolution. How easy is it for a customer to resolve their issue, perform the transaction they want to perform through the available channels? The agent knowledge is critical in that ease of resolution, and also critical for situations where the customer may not necessarily know what it is they want to do. They may not know the channels that are open to them. They may not know the routes through the customer journey that they need to take. And the ease of contact is the third one, the choice and accessibility. So agent coaching can directly impact the top 2 of those, the ease of resolution and the agent knowledge. They're both directly agent impactable. And while 9 out of 10 companies see customer experience as a competitive differentiator, there's only 10% of those companies, so 90% see it as a differentiator, but only 10 or 11% have a promoter level customer experience rating. So given that those 3 elements at the top are the 3 most important factors to it, the quickest way or the best way for those 11% or the 89% rather that need to move into a promoter level CX rating is to try and affect what they can of those top 2. So the ease of resolution and agent knowledge, which is agent feedback and coaching. So the coaching style, I think that Kim's talked a lot about different coaching styles, different coaching models, and there are different types of coaching profiles. We have teacher managers that may have come off the floor and they coach based on their own knowledge and experience. What's Harvard Business Review referred to as always on managers. They provide continual coaching. They're always on the floor. They appear to be dedicated to their job. They're constantly talking to their agents. You have the connector managers that look to give very targeted feedback and spend a lot more time specifically assessing skills, needs, and interests. And you have the cheerleader managers who are much more positive. They're constantly using positive reinforcement to try and get their message across. At this point, Rachel, if I can, I think I'd like to launch another one of your polls, if I may.
Yes.
Looking at which of those coaching styles that people think are most effective.
Yep, so the poll is, which coaching profile would you rather work with? Is it the teacher managers, is it the always-on managers, connector managers, or cheerleader managers? And Mark, what do you think might come out?
I think that could be, I really don't know. So the first time we've run this as a poll.
Okay.
I'm thinking not 1, but possibly 2, 3, or 4.
Okay, I will share the results. So, 35% are the always-on managers, 25% connector managers, 22% cheerleader managers, and 18% teacher managers. You were you were right. The first one was the lowest.
Good stuff.
Oh. Back over to you.
Okay, sorry. I seem to have lost my screen for a moment. There we go.
I think we can see your.
You can see my notes. Let me
you go from current slide.
Current slide. Here we go.
Perfect.
So it's the connector managers that Harvard Business Review have identified as being the most effective in terms of driving agent performance. The always-on managers, where they provide the continual coaching, sometimes they can be seen to be slightly overbearing. And what Harvard Business Review found is that that always-on approach, while it may on the surface appear to be the most engaging with the agents, actually doesn't have as much positive effect as that ability to give true targeted feedback, spending more time assessing the agent's skills, assessing their needs and their particular interests, and giving them more direct targeted feedback than the more continual stream of information. Okay. So why is it that this targeting matters so much? We talked a lot about agent sampling. I think that the last survey that Rachel ran just previously around how a call sampled. Do you use random sampling? Do you try to focus on agent dispositioning or call type, or do you use technology? So random sampling, by its nature, almost by definition, will only really target average calls. You may occasionally get the odd outlier in, but if you're only assessing 1 to 2% of agent calls per month, and you're doing that on a random basis, it's going to be very difficult for you to find, well, not difficult, but it's going to be unlikely that you're going to find the calls on either side of this bell curve, the poor calls, the excellent calls. So by using analytics to automatically analyze 100% of your calls, it enables you to open up that bell curve. And suddenly, where before you were seeing the average calls, what you're now finding are the calls on either side of that curve. The calls that have low customer satisfaction, that have compliance risk language, that have complaint language, too many holds, too many transfers, picking up some customer anger. And on the other side of that coin, you're now able to start determining the really high value calls. Where is there high customer satisfaction? Where are the sales language that you want to hear on a call being said? Where are the agents being efficient? How is your customer experience? So by opening up your contact center to the technology and the ability to analyze 100% of your calls, you're able to start identifying individual calls from individual agents that matter, I guess, is the best way to describe it. If you take, for example, compliance as the best example, I'm pretty sure that everybody out there is targeted with a very high target rate for compliance adherence, in excess of 95, 96%. The huge majority of the time, because you're coaching well, your agents are going to be hitting those values. They're going to be hitting the 95, 96%. So the chances of you finding those calls where there is a compliance risk or there is a potential compliance failure, you're looking right over onto the far left-hand side, onto the poor calls. If we're analyzing 100% of the calls and we're identifying an agent that perhaps has a 5 or 6% failure rate, as opposed to your target 2 or 3% failure rate, then we have a clear, identifiable personal training need. On the flip side of that, if we have a sales agent who is consistently using a piece of language that is driving sales, or it is driving a positive customer experience, they're going to be on the far right-hand side. And again, the only way that you're going to be able to consistently identify those calls and be able to provide feedback based on that data is if you have access to them and those calls have been automatically scored and analyzed for you. Excuse me, that's like a frog in my throat. So how does speech analytics work? I'm not going to talk to you too much about the detail. Those of you with sort of the ability to speed read might see some mentions of AI and semi-supervised machine learning driven pieces in there. What we're talking about here is just the evolution of speech analytics. But in a nutshell, what it does is it takes all of your transactions, transcribes your voice calls into text, uses artificial intelligence, machine learning capabilities to help you to generate the content that you need to find the items of interest, anything that may happen on that call that is relevant to an organization. Then uses your own organization's weighted rules-based scoring, scores all those calls automatically, finds those things of interest, finds those areas of agent strength, areas of agents improvement requirements, areas of organizational strength and improvement requirements, and delivers that information directly to the agent or to the supervisor dashboard in the form of scores and call snippets. So coaching in the call center with no speech analytics. So here we're talking to the 90% of the audience that don't have any kind of analytics that they are able to effect using targeted coaching in the way that we've described. Typically, we're looking at there being less than 1% of the interactions monitored or surveyed. We're looking at a potentially considerable length of time between that call taking place and then that session with the agents, the coaching session taking place thereafter. A large human resource investment in terms of listening to and finding the relevant calls. It means that coaching isn't necessarily as effective. Kim talked earlier about well-coached agents being well-engaged agents. We talked about customer knowledge being, or agent knowledge, sorry, being key to customer experience success. So we've got this agent and customer attrition on both sides, and a lot of missed intelligence in the 99% of the calls that aren't being looked at. The flip side of that, using speech analytics, we're now looking at 100% of the interactions. We're getting real-time or near real-time reaction, automated through analytics, delivered directly to that agent desktop if required. So again, we've just got that, the agent and customer attention, better engaged agents, better serviced customers, and we're revealing all of the intelligence that there is to be revealed within the contact center. It provides immediate, fair, and relevant coaching. So you can quickly identify the CSAT impacting behaviors, non-subjective and universally applied scoring. So your agents are going to be scored against the same rules, computer-based rule scoring. We're not going to have the subjectivity of potentially there's an agent that had a bad day. You may have selected one call from the far left-hand side of their bell curve. The response that's going to come back from the agent is, that's not me. That's not how I normally do things. You know what? They're right. Normally, they're going to be in that average pot. So it's the non-subjectivity giving them the ability to see both sides of all the coins. So near real time, so pretty much next day would be standard, giving that ability to feedback super quickly. Delivered to the desktop. So this slide's ever so slightly busy, so apologies for that, I'm a little bit small. But we see that agent quality score of 80, it's green, it's good. So we're able to initiate a conversation with the agent. This was a great call. Listen to this particular snippet between 2 minutes 41 and 3 minutes 36 that we've highlighted. That's where you were really strong. And we can send that directly to the agent. So this is using positive reinforcement. We've automatically scored a call. We found an excellent piece of agent behavior. Send it off to the agent and use that for positive reinforcement. How does it work in practice? One of our customer case studies, it's a leading UK insurance and financial services provider, millions of customers, thousands of employees, and they have a very specific focus on delivering customer excellence throughout the organization on every call or interaction. They've employed speech analytics to try and help drive the quality of their coaching to help deliver that customer excellence. And what have we done? So we've looked at 12.5 million calls, 13 billion words have been analyzed within the contact center. And by doing that, we've been able to help them uncover 12 times the amount of risk coverage in terms of compliance risk than they were seeing previously. They found a 76% efficiency saving on finding calls. So this ability to target call coaching. So rather than listening to or having their quality assessment teams listening to lots and lots of random calls in the hope that they stumble across something that they want to coach on, we can find those calls for them much quicker now. Vastly improved sales rates in terms of customer retention and vastly improved new business sales. So that's just one case study. There are lots and lots of case studies similar to that on our website, but that's really what we're about and how the solution works in practice. And that pretty much is the end of mine as well. I hope you found something useful out of that you hadn't known before about speech analytics or some of the more some of the reasons why targeted coaching may be more valuable than perhaps you may have thought previously. Thank you, Rachel.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we would like to ask everyone a poll, which is, would you like to see a demonstration of the Call Miner solution? So I'm going to quickly put this poll up. So that then, Mark, people can hear a bit more from yourself or one of your team members to hear more about the solution and how speech analytics can help with coaching and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to speak to anybody.
Fab. So we're just waiting for it to come through. No, I thought it was really interesting seeing how, on that bell curve that it wasn't just a small segment of calls that were being monitored, that actually it extended from not just the really bad calls, but actually you could pick out the really good ones as well. And as you just showed, saying, oh, this was a brilliant section that you did. Because feedback isn't just about being negative. It is kind of saying, oh, you did a great call here. And, let's carry on. So yeah, lots of things coming through in the chat room, so we'll see what people are saying. So a tip from Andrew, who said, using the benefits of speech analytics, you can create automated scorecards based on the key requirements of specific call types. That way agents can see how they're performing against expectations, and also agents can see how they're performing against their peers. This is also a great way to outline what good looks like, so that there's an end goal or level to achieve. Mark, what are your thoughts on this one?
I couldn't agree more. I think it was Angel, I think it may have been from after Kim's presentation, that spoke about being able to define good, what is good. So I think one of the things that always surprises me, well, not always, but quite often surprises me when I go into organizations and we start talking about, so what behaviors is it that you want your agents to exhibit? What does good look like? And the amounts of times that there isn't really a coherent view of what good is not alarming is the wrong word, but it's certainly surprising to me. But once we have defined what good is, once we know what agent behaviors contribute to positive experiences, and then we can automate looking for those. These are the behaviors that we're looking for. This is what makes a good call. This is what makes a good agent experience. I couldn't agree more, Andrew. Thank you.
Brilliant.
So I'd say change good to great. Oh, fabulous.
Yeah. So we've had a question in from Emily, who said, do you have any tips for actually teaching these coaching skills to team leaders and managers? Kim, I don't know whether you want to take this one.
Okay, yep. First and foremost, coach them. Let them see it from the advisor's perspective. If your team leaders are able to take contacts on the phone or chat or whatever medium you use, get them to take some. Then coach them and get them to see it from the agent's perspective. That will be a real game changer with your team leaders if they have that ability to take contacts. Give them all the tools that you can. Get them understanding their own emotional intelligence. Get them looking at the GROW model, the THINK model, TED, all the other ones out there, and get them to pick the ones that they can use and create almost a toolbox, a coaching toolbox that they can just get out and use for different situations and different types of agent, different types of personality. But above all, coach them. Get them seeing what a fantastic coach is and get them duplicating it with their agents.
Fab, thank you. So Aidan said, I give agents the opportunity every few coaching sessions to choose which customer contact type they'd like to focus on, e.g. call, email, web chat. This helps engagement with the process. Yeah, Kim, what are your thoughts on this one?
It's a fabulous idea, but I think it can be a little bit dangerous if your agent knows that they are strongest in one specific area. So if they know, like going back to my case study, monotone, if they know that they're monotone, they're always going to choose email and web chat. So make sure that you're not steering away from the others and you're not neglecting the others.
Yeah. And Mark, do you think that analytics could help with this?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just in terms of contact type, but specific core reasons within that contact type. If there are 10 or 20 different contact types that an agent will take, even in their current role, they will have an awareness of which ones they're stronger at, which ones they're weaker at. Using speech analytics will help you to identify calls of that particular type and nature, and those that they've done better at than they may have expected, and those that they've done worse at.
Yeah. So Stephen sent in a tip saying, get agents to score their own calls depending on the framework you use. One agent to do per day, etc. for timing. This would narrow down your randomness when selecting calls to QA, as in reality, what percentage of calls do we QA versus volume of calls taken? So we've had a question in, also from Stephen, who said, how much should you pay for speech analytics and how do you obtain director finance sign-off to accommodate? Mark, I don't know, I'm sure it's kind of how long is a piece of string? I'm sure you could go into it. Yeah.
It is how long is a piece of string, and it depends on how many agents you've got, etc., etc. But how do you obtain director of finance sign-off to accommodate? It's about being able to demonstrate the value. So looking at your contact center operation as a whole, what does it mean to you? I don't know, Stephen, what kind of business you're engaged in, but if what does a 1% increase in sales revenue mean to you? What does a 1% decrease in compliance risk mean to you? So being able to articulate those kind of questions while you're thinking about implementing speech analytics, if we could drive retention by X%, if we could drive compliance risk, many different use cases, or even if we could just improve the efficiency of our existing QA team by X%. These are all things that speech analytics can help with. It's about sizing and scaling those.
And I'm sure you could help with a business case as well. And I believe we've got some articles on, business case for new technology and things. So yeah, check out the website. So Marco said he sent in a tip saying, before providing your feedback in an evaluation, ask the agent to do a self-evaluation, then set a time to calibrate the findings. Group calibrations are also great to improve agent scores and compliance issues in CSAT. Kim, what are your thoughts on this one?
I love that idea. I mean, getting people to score themselves is fantastic, especially if they're not achieving. Group collaborations and getting people to look at each other's scores, I think that's a really good idea. One that I'm going to explore next time I'm in a call center. So thank you for that, Marco.
So Aidan sent in a tip saying, my coaching approach for any activity is once we have reviewed the work to ensure the first question I ask is, so tell me about that, call, email, web chat. Open questioning approach that immediately puts the responsibility and ownership over to the agents to open the discussion. Kim, I think that sounds a little bit like your case study, actually.
It does. You've just got to make sure that the person that you're saying it to is that type of person that's going to engage with the type of response that you want, because you might just get some people going, yep, all right, and that's it, and nothing else. So you just got to make sure that you're customizing it dependent on the personality type of your agent.
Yeah. So we've had a question in saying, will speech analytics software pick up on all expressions of dissatisfaction? Is there a chance that certain expressions of dissatisfaction are not picked up by the software and may be missed? Mark, I don't know if you wanted to take this one.
Yes, is the can the software pick up on all expressions of dissatisfaction? Absolutely, it can. Out of the box with our software, I would imagine with most. There are pre-packaged dissatisfaction categories. Do they cater for every single expression of dissatisfaction that may occur within your particular organization? Possibly not, but they can be amended and adapted to suit. So if in your particular environment, if there is a particular phrasing that isn't in the general vernacular, it can be added. It's all about developing it, and this is where the machine learning that I spoke about comes into play as well a little bit now. So the ability to use the software itself to help with that content development. Actually, we're seeing this language where we're seeing other expressions of dissatisfaction. Should we add it? That's the kind of behavior that we're getting towards now.
Brilliant. So Marco sent in another tip saying, remove the scores of performance evaluations because the agents will be focusing more on the scores than the feedback. Lucy said, I'm a firm believer in peer-to-peer coaching. Just because we're managers doesn't mean we're better at call handling. So identifying a strong call handler to coach their peers on quality and AHT is so beneficial. Kim, would you agree with that?
I partly agree and partly disagree because I think it all comes down to knowledge. If your team leaders, if your managers are very knowledgeable about how to take a call and how to handle the customer, then they will be able to coach as well, if not better, than an advisor or a senior advisor, because your senior advisor may not have the background of coaching or may not know how to give feedback. So I think knowledge is the key aspect there.
Fab. So we've had a question in on advisor tone. So any suggestions on improving advisor tone, especially if they sound monotone? So Kim, another question to you, but I'm guessing that you had some feedback based on your case study.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was all about, I listened to myself. And then it was like, well, a lot of open questions you can do. So how would you feel if you were the customer and that was the person you were speaking to? How do you think, is that how you speak naturally? And everybody's going to say, no, I don't speak monotone. But then why are you doing it on the phone? So it's a lot of open questions with that, and get them to listen to samples of the calls, maybe ones where they've really been passionate about the product or passionate about how they're speaking to the customer, so they've got that flip side.
Yeah,
but it can be cured.
Mark, do you think technology can help with this then?
So tone of voice is actually quite tricky to attract or to detect through technology. If we're honest, it's developing in that direction. But picking up things like sarcasm and tone of voice is a challenge for technology, but we're certainly moving in the right direction.
And I suppose with just being able to listen back to their calls, they can actually hear it, and maybe that will help them improve.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're picking up all of the other indicators of customer engagement and agent engagement, so it doesn't just come down to tonality, and there's no substitute for that direct coaching engagement. What speech analytics doesn't do is coach your agents. What it does do is provide you the insight that you require to do so.
Fab. So we've had a tip in from Aidan who said, ask agents to make a note of a call, email, web chat, etc. that they've handled that they'd like to have a coaching session on. And Marco said, when coaching agents, please use smart, challenging questions to promote agents' self-discovery of the issues. Keep in mind that coaching is not consulting, giving advice. Kim, would you agree with that one?
Yep, absolutely.
Fab. So unfortunately, we've reached the top of the hour. So I'd just like to say, to ask in one or two words, what did you like best about today's webinar? If you could share it in the chat room, that'd be great. Today's winning tip comes in from Chris, who said, book side-by-side coaching sessions in your calendar and invite the agent to it. If it's in both your calendars as a meeting invite, you're less likely to miss it or get distracted by something else and not attend. This shows the agent you're invested in their development as well. So congratulations, Chris. We'll be in touch after the webinar. Just a reminder, we have a survey immediately following the webinar. It's just 4 questions long, but it gives us a great opportunity to be able to improve our webinars. A reminder that there is a replay and slides available later on this afternoon on callcenterhelper.com/recorded-webinars. And we're having a bit of a break next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with how to give the wow factor on email and live chat. So I'd like to say thank you very much to our 2 speakers today for some brilliant discussions and great presentations. Thank you very much, Kim Ellis.
Thank you very much to everybody.
Fab. And thank you very much to Mark Williams from CallMiner. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for your time. Much appreciated.
Brilliant. And we'll see you all in a few weeks' time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye now.